The crystalline spires of the Vexarian royal palace gleamed in the light of 3 moons as Ambassador Kate Morgan walked through its hallways feeling incredibly small. The human woman adjusted her formal diplomatic uniform and tried to keep her breathing steady. She had been on this alien world for 6 months now, and still the overwhelming scale of Vexarian architecture made her feel like a child among giants. Kate represented Earth in the newly formed Galactic Coalition, an alliance of spacefaring species that had welcomed humanity with a mixture of curiosity and condescension. Humans were the newest members, considered primitive by most other species, especially the Vexarians, who ruled much of this sector with their advanced technology and imposing physical presence. Standing over 7 feet tall with iridescent skin that shifted colors with their emotions, the Vexarians were known for their imperial attitude and complex social hierarchies. They viewed humans as barely evolved primates useful for trade but little else, which was why Kate found herself completely confused when summoned to the royal palace for what they called a ceremonial gifting. 2 Vexarian guards towered over her as they led her into the vast throne room where the High Council awaited. The air smelled of strange spices, and the light pulsed in patterns that seemed to communicate something Kate could not understand. Grand Minister Zex, a Vexarian elder whose skin rippled with patterns of deep purple and gold, addressed her with the typical tone of superiority they used with humans. "Ambassador Morgan, we have decided to bestow upon you a great honor." He gestured toward a slender Vexarian female who stood silently to the side. "Princess Elia, 3rd daughter of the royal bloodline, shall be given to you as your companion." Kate blinked in confusion. "I don't understand." The council members' skin flickered with colors that Kate recognized as amusement, though they kept their faces impassive. "It is an ancient custom to cement diplomatic relations. The princess will return with you to your Earth dwelling." Kate could feel her heart racing. This had to be some kind of mistake, or worse, a deliberate humiliation. No one had mentioned anything about taking a Vexarian royal back to Earth, especially not as some kind of gift. She glanced at the princess, who stood perfectly still, her skin a calm blue, though her eyes betrayed a flash of something Kate couldn't quite read. Refusing would cause an interstellar incident, accepting made no sense. Kate could tell from the subtle color changes on the council members' skin that they were enjoying her discomfort. This was some kind of test, or perhaps a prank at the expense of the primitive humans. "I'm deeply honored," she said carefully, "but I must consult with Earth Central Command before the decision is made." Grand Minister Zex interrupted. "The transport leaves in 1 planetary rotation. Princess Elia has been prepared for her new Roll-20. 4 hours later, Kate found herself aboard a transport ship, heading back to Earth with Princess Elia sitting across from her in the small cabin. The princess had barely spoken since leaving Vexar, her skin maintaining a neutral gray tone that revealed nothing of her thoughts. "I'm sorry about this," Kate said, finally breaking the uncomfortable silence. "I don't know what game the council is playing, but I promise when we reach Earth, we'll sort this out." Elia looked at her with large, almond-shaped eyes that seemed to shift between silver and violet. "You believe this is a game? It's obviously some kind of political move or test, or maybe even a prank." Kate said, "They can't seriously expect me to just take you home like some kind of gift." Elia finished her sentence. "That is precisely what they expect. It is common practice to discard inconvenient royals to foreign powers." She raised her chin slightly. "I failed to secure a genetic match with any of the approved Vexarian houses. My bloodline is considered." Kate stared at her. "But you're a princess, 3rd daughter, 4th tier bloodline, considered genetically divergent," Elia said matter-of-factly. "The council saw an opportunity to dispose of me while simultaneously testing human reactions by giving me to you. They observe how primitives handle a situation beyond their understanding." For the first time, Kate noticed a hint of color flushing through Elia's skin, a brief flash of deep red that suggested anger or shame. "So this is some kind of exile for you?" she said softly. Elia tilted her head. "The human concept is accurate enough." Over the following weeks, as they traveled back to Earth, Kate learned more about Vexarian culture than she had in 6 months of official diplomatic training. Elia gradually revealed the complex caste system, the genetic purity obsession and the ruthless politics that governed her people. She spoke of it all with clinical detachment, as if describing the habits of an unfamiliar species rather than her own culture. By the time they reached Earth's orbit, Kate had developed an odd protectiveness toward the alien princess. She arranged for a private residence near the diplomatic compound in Washington, rather than the standard alien visitor quarters. The Vexarian princess would not be treated as a curiosity or political pawn. Not on her watch. Adapting to Earth was challenging for Elia. The gravity was stronger, the air thinner, and human customs bewildering. She found human emotional displays particularly confusing, but fascinating. "Why do you smile when nothing humorous has occurred?" she asked Kate one morning as they shared breakfast. "Sometimes people smile just to be friendly," Kate explained. "Or because they're happy." Elia considered this. On Vexar, emotions are private things to be controlled, not displayed. Her skin rippled briefly with golden patterns. "I find your species' openness strange but not unpleasant." As months passed, Elia became more integrated into Kate's life. They developed a routine. The princess proved surprisingly adaptable, learning English quickly and showing interest in human culture, especially literature and art forms. She was particularly drawn to stories of family and belonging, concepts that seemed foreign to her rigidly structured upbringing. One evening, as they walked through a park watching children play, Elia stopped suddenly, her skin pulsing with a soft pink glow Kate had never seen before. "These offspring, they belong to genetic relatives?" she asked. "Usually, yes," Kate replied. Their families. Elia watched as a young mother scooped up a laughing toddler. On Vexar, royal offspring are raised by designated caretakers, not biological contributors. We are taught that direct parental attachment is primitive, inefficient. Yet these humans seem functioning, not impaired by their attachments, Elia observed. "They're happy," Kate said simply. "It's love." The concept of love was something Elia struggled to comprehend. Vexarians formed partnerships based on genetic compatibility and political advantage. The idea of emotional bonding as a foundation for family was alien to her. Literally, winter turned to spring, and Kate's diplomatic responsibilities often took her to meetings around the world. During these times, Elia explored human culture on her own, visiting museums, libraries, and observing everyday life with increasing curiosity. Her reports back to Vexar became less frequent, then stopped entirely. She had been sent away expecting never to return. One evening, after Kate returned from a particularly tense diplomatic summit, she found Elia waiting with an unusual intensity, her skin shifting through colors in rapid patterns. "I have made a decision," the princess announced formally, "about what I wish to experience, human motherhood." Kate nearly choked. "On her tea, what I have studied your reproductive processes and cultural practices." Elia continued, "I find the concept of creating and nurturing new life fascinating. On Vexar, reproduction is clinical detached, but here among humans, I see connection, purpose, meaning." This was not a conversation Kate had ever expected to have. "Are you saying you want to have a baby?" Elia nodded, her skin glowing with determination. "I have observed that humans often form family units based on choice rather than biology. This concept is unknown on Vexar, where lineage dictates all. I wish to create such a connection through motherhood." But Kate struggled to find the right words. "You're a Vexarian princess. Can you even? Compatible physiology has been confirmed," Elia said. "With scientific precision, I have consulted with medical experts. Cross-species fertilization is not possible, but there are alternatives." Her skin rippled with a new color, a warm golden hue that Kate had never seen before. "When the council sent me here, it was meant as a disposal, a prank at both our expenses. But I have found something unexpected. Freedom to choose my own path." Kate sat back in her chair, stunned at the declaration. This was not a minor decision. This would change everything about their arrangement, about Elia's status, about interspecies relations. "The diplomatic implications alone," Kate began, "are irrelevant." Elia interrupted, her skin now pulsing with firm resolve. "I was discarded. Disposed of. My value to Vexar ended the moment I boarded your transport. What I do now is my choice alone." She paused, her colors softening. "Unless you wish me to leave your dwelling." "No. Of course not," Kate said quickly. "This is your home for as long as you want it to be." "I'm just surprised I need to process this," Elia nodded. "You require adaptation time. This is understandable." As spring progressed, Kate found herself drawn into Elias' plans. The princess approached motherhood with the same methodical precision she applied to all her endeavors. She researched Earth customs surrounding pregnancy, childbirth, and parenting. She interviewed human mothers, observed childcare facilities, and consumed countless books and videos on the subject. Earth Central Command was less than pleased when informed. A Vexarian royal reproducing on Earth was unprecedented, potentially diplomatically explosive. But since Elia had been officially gifted to Kate, the bureaucrats found themselves in uncharted territory. There were no regulations against it, and the princess made it clear she would proceed with or without official approval. The medical process was complex Vexarian reproductive biology, while similar to humans in broad strokes had significant differences. The doctors at the Xenobiology Medical Center worked with Elia to develop a safe procedure that would allow her to conceive and carry a child using genetic material from a Vexarian donor bank samples that had been included in the diplomatic exchange materials. Kate found herself increasingly invested in Elias' journey. The princess had gone from an unexpected diplomatic complication to a friend, someone Kate genuinely cared about. And watching her discover the concept of family was strangely moving. While humanity had advanced to the stars, developed faster than light travel, and joined a galactic community, they still held to certain fundamentals that species like the Vexarians had long abandoned. The very things that made humans primitive in alien eyes: their emotional attachments, their family structures, their sometimes messy but deeply felt connections, were the very things Elia now sought to understand. Dr. Susan Patel, the lead xenobiologist overseeing Elias' case, approached Kate after one of their appointments. "You realize the significance of what she's doing," she said quietly. "This isn't just a personal choice, it's revolutionary. No Vexarian royal has ever chosen to reproduce outside the genetic matching protocols, let alone raise a child personally." "Will it cause problems?" Kate asked, diplomatically. "Probably, but scientifically, culturally." She shook her head. "It's groundbreaking. The Vexarians have one of the most rigid social structures in the known galaxy, and here is one of their princesses deliberately stepping outside it to embrace what they consider primitive human family structures." The procedure was scheduled for early summer. Kate took leave from her diplomatic duties to support Elia. The princess maintained her usual composed demeanor, but the constantly shifting colors of her skin betrayed her nervousness, excitement, and determination. The night before the procedure, Elia sat in the garden of their shared home, her skin glowing softly in the darkness. "Are you certain about this?" Kate asked. Joining her, Elia turned, her large eyes reflecting the stars above. "I have never been more certain of anything. My life on Vexar was predetermined, my value measured only by genetic purity and political usefulness. Here I have discovered choice, a concept my people have forgotten, but a child will be my family," Elia said simply. "Something I choose rather than something chosen for me." She looked at Kate. "The council meant to humiliate us both when they sent me here. Instead, they gave me freedom. The greatest gift possible, though they did not intend it." The procedure was successful. Elia conceived, and as summer turned to fall, her body began to change. Her slender form expanded slightly. Her iridescent skin took on a permanent golden undertone, and according to the medical scans, the child within her was developing perfectly. Word reached Vexar of the princess who chose motherhood. The initial response was predictable outrage and threats of diplomatic consequences. But as news spread through Vexarian society, something unexpected happened. Questions began to arise, especially among younger Vexarians. Why were family bonds considered primitive? Why was reproduction controlled so rigidly by genetic matching protocols? A small delegation arrived from Vexar headed by Elias' former caretaker, Talia, a stern older female whose skin remained a carefully controlled blue-gray. She requested a private meeting with the princess. Kate watched anxiously as the two Vexarians sat in the garden conversing in their native language, a series of musical tones and clicks incomprehensible to human ears. But she could see the colors shifting across their skin. Talia began with formal indigo patterns that suggested disapproval. But as Elia spoke, the older Vexarian's colors began to shift, showing flickers of purple curiosity. After the delegation departed, Elia seemed thoughtful. What did she want, Kate asked. To understand. She could not comprehend why I would choose this path. Elia placed a hand on her growing abdomen. I showed her the human concept of family of direct bonds between parent and child. She had never considered such a possibility, and she will return to Vexar with questions, Elia said. The most dangerous thing in our society, fall turned to winter, and Elia's pregnancy progressed. The medical team monitored her closely as this was the first Vexarian pregnancy on Earth. The princess approached the experience with a mixture of scientific curiosity and growing emotional connection that surprised even her. I can feel the child move within me, she told Kate one snowy evening. Her skin rippled with patterns of wonder and joy. On Vexar, I would not have been permitted to carry my own offspring. The growing would occur in a gestation chamber monitored by specialists. I would not see the child until basic development was complete. That sounds so clinical, Kate said. It is efficient, Elia replied, but it lacks. The princess paused, searching for the right word. Connection. I speak to this child. I feel its movements. I am already forming a bond. This is considered dangerous in my culture. Too primitive, too emotional, too human. Kate suggested with a small smile. Elia nodded, her skin glowing golden. Yes, too human. And yet I find it. She placed both hands on her abdomen. Beautiful as winter, deepened. Kate found herself taking on unexpected roles. She attended prenatal classes with Elia, helped prepare a nursery, and fielded increasingly concerned communications from Earth Central Command. The diplomatic situation was growing complicated. Vexarian society was experiencing what some called the Elia effect, as news of the princess who chose motherhood spread. A growing movement among younger Vexarians questioned the rigid structures that had defined their society for millennia. The AudioBook Council had intended to dispose of an inconvenient princess. Instead, they had inadvertently created a symbol of change. Kate received a private communication from Admiral Diane Wallace, head of Earth Diplomatic Corps. This situation has far-reaching implications, Morgan. She said, her expression grave. The Vexarian Council is divided on how to respond. Some want to disown the princess completely, declare her actions abhorrent to their culture. Others see an opportunity for social evolution, something their society hasn't experienced in thousands of years. What should we do? Kate asked. For now, nothing. The Admiral smiled. Just support her. This may be the most significant diplomatic development in human Vexarian relations, and all because they tried to play a prank on us. The nursery was prepared with both human and Vexarian elements. Kate had researched traditional Vexarian childhood environments and incorporated elements that would make the baby feel connected to its heritage. Soft lighting that pulsed in gentle patterns, special sound generators that produced the musical tones of the Vexarian language, and a modified atmosphere regulator that would create the slightly different air mixture the child would need. Elia stood in the doorway of the completed room, her skin shifting through patterns of emotion too complex for Kate to fully read. Is it suitable? The princess asked. I think so, Kate said. But we can change anything that doesn't work. Elia turned to her. In my culture, preparation for a royal birth takes months, involves dozens of specialists, and follows traditions thousands of years old. This room, she gestured to the small nursery, would be considered inadequate. Insufficient. Kate felt a moment of disappointment. Oh, I can try. It is perfect. Elia interrupted. Her skin glowed warm gold, the color Kate now recognized as joy. It was created with care, not protocol, with thought, not tradition. The child will be surrounded by intention, not obligation, as her due date approached. Elia became more reflective. She spent hours reading both human and Vexarian histories, comparing their developmental paths, your species' values, individual choice. She observed one evening, family bonds, emotional connections. These were seen as weaknesses by my people, things to be engineered out of our development. But look what they cost us. She gestured to herself. The ability to choose one's own path to form connections based on more than genetic compatibility. We gained efficiency, but lost purpose. Spring arrived, bringing new life to the world outside their windows. The medical team was on standby. Elia had chosen to deliver at home with specialized equipment brought in. The Vexarian birth process was different from humans, shorter but more intense. Elia approached it with the same quiet determination she had shown throughout her pregnancy. When the time came, Kate found herself more nervous than the princess. The medical team arrived, led by Dr. Patel, who had become a friend over the months of preparation. Vexarian labor was indeed intense but mercifully brief. Elia's skin, shifting through cascades of color, remained silent and focused throughout the process. Her only concession to the pain was accepting Kate's offered hand, gripping it with surprising strength, and then suddenly there was a new sound in the room. A trilling cry that was not quite human but unmistakably the sound of new life. Dr. Patel placed the infant, a tiny Vexarian with skin that shifted rapidly through rainbow hues, on Elias' chest. A daughter, the doctor announced, perfect and healthy. The first Vexarian born on Earth. Elias' skin exploded in patterns of gold and rose, the colors so bright they almost hurt to look at. She looked down at the infant with an expression of wonder. Hello, little one, she whispered in English, not her native tongue. I am your mother, you are my choice, my family. They named the baby Sophia, a human name with ancient roots meaning wisdom. Elia had chosen it deliberately, a symbol of the blending of cultures her daughter would represent. Not fully Vexarian, not human, but something new. A bridge between worlds. The first weeks were a blur of adjustment. Vexarian infants developed more rapidly than human babies but required specific care. Kate found herself learning alongside Elia how to tend to the unique needs of the child. The baby's skin rippled with constant color changes, reflecting her developing emotional states far more openly than adult Vexarians. Earth Central Command had insisted on a security detail for the house. The first Vexarian birth on Earth was considered a matter of planetary security, but Kate had negotiated to keep it minimal and unobtrusive. She wanted Elia and Sophia to have as normal a life as possible, whatever normal meant in their unique situation. 1 month after Sophia's birth, they received an unexpected visitor. Grand Minister Zex himself arrived with minimal entourage, requesting an audience. Kate was immediately suspicious, remembering all too well how this same official had banished Elia as a diplomatic prank. I can refuse to let him see you, Kate told Elia as they stood in the nursery. Sophia sleeping peacefully in her specially designed crib. The princess considered this, her skin showing calm blues of contemplation. No, he should see what his prank has created. The meeting took place in their garden. Elia insisted on holding Sophia, who was awake and alert. Her tiny eyes taking in everything, her skin shifting through curious patterns of yellow and green. Grand Minister Zex, towering and imposing, tried to maintain his formal demeanor. But Kate noticed flickers of uncertainty in his color patterns. Princess Elia, he began formally. The council has sent me to assess this unusual situation. Your actions have caused significant disruption in our social harmony. Elia met his gaze, unflinching. My actions have caused questions. Questions your council would prefer remained unasked. The ancient Vexarian shifted uncomfortably. His eyes moved to the infant. Your offspring appears healthy. She has a name, Kate interjected. Sophia. The minister glanced at Kate, with the usual Vexarian dismissal of humans before returning his attention to Elia. You understand this child cannot be recognized as royal. Her creation violates all protocols. Elia's skin remained calm. She is not royal. She is simply my daughter. Make no claims to Vexarian royal lines or inheritance. She held the baby closer. That freedom is my gift to her. The minister seemed confused by this response. The council expected demands recognition. Rights. I demand nothing. Ilya said. And that is what disturbs them. Isn't it that I chose freedom over status, connection over protocol? Her skin rippled with subtle patterns of challenge. You sent me away as a joke, a diplomatic amusement. Now you find the joke has unexpected consequences. The baby made a soft trilling sound and the minister's composure slipped. His skin showed a brief flash of rose, a color associated with Vexarian nurturing instincts before he controlled it. Returning to formal indigo, the council wishes to offer terms, he said carefully. A return to Vexar, a suitable position for you, and care for the child in appropriate facilities. A gilded cage, Ilya said. I decline. This was clearly not the response he expected. You would choose to remain here among. She glanced at Kate. Primitives. Choose family over hierarchy, connection over protocol, love over duty. Ilya said each word carefully. The very things our society engineered away millennia ago. The things you call primitive are what make life meaningful. The minister left visibly. Unsettled, Kate watched him go with a mixture of satisfaction and concern. Will there be consequences? She asked Ilya after he departed. Always, the princess said, but not what they expect. Consequences indeed came, but not as threats or sanctions. Instead, over the following months they arrived as Vexarian visitors. Young couples seeking to understand how Ilya had broken with tradition. Scholars interested in human family structures, officials quietly questioning millennia of rigid social engineering. They came with formal pretexts, but Kate recognized the real reason in their shifting skin colors. Curiosity, hope for something different. Sophia grew rapidly as Vexarian children did. By 6 months, she was already crawling her skin changing colors, constantly as she explored her world. She showed particular fascination with music responding to both human melodies and the tonal language of her Vexarian heritage. Ilya documented everything from her daughter's first attempts at communication to her developing color patterns. She shared these observations not just with the human doctors who monitored Sophia's development, but also with a growing network of Vexarians interested in her unconventional approach to parenting. The princess had become something unexpected. An ambassador not formally appointed but more effective than any official diplomat. She bridged worlds not through policy, but through the universal experience of parenthood. The Vexarian Council maintained official disapproval, but could not stem the cultural shift Ilya had inadvertently begun. More young Vexarians questioned the rigid reproductive protocols, the caste system based on genetic purity, the separation of parents and children, all the traditions that had defined their society for thousands of years. 1 year after Sophia's birth, Earth Central Command organized a formal celebration, not just of the child's milestone, but of the changing relationship between humans and Vexarians. Admiral Wallace herself attended, along with representatives from every major Earth nation. When you were handed a Vexarian princess as a diplomatic prank, I don't think anyone expected this outcome, the Admiral told Kate, as they watched Ilya introduce Sophia to the gathered dignitaries. The baby, now walking confidently, charmed everyone, her skin glowing with confident, friendly colors. Kate smiled. I certainly didn't. But look at them. Ilya was considered disposable by her own people, a flawed genetic specimen to be discarded. Now she's possibly the most influential Vexarian in generations, all because she chose to be a mother. Not just that. Kate said she chose connection over isolation, love over protocol. She rediscovered something her people had engineered away later that evening. After the celebration, when the house was quiet again, Kate found Ilya in the nursery watching Sophia sleep. A strange day, the princess observed. A good one, Kate replied. Ilya nodded, her skin glowing softly with contentment. When they sent me here as a gift, it was meant to be humiliating. To both of us, you receiving an unwanted alien and me discarded like unwanted property. She looked at the sleeping child. But in losing everything, I found something my people had forgotten. How to choose one's own path. How to build connection, not through genetic compatibility, but through choice and love. The joke was on them. Kate said with a smile. Indeed, Elia agreed. And now the joke spreads. A revolution. Not of weapons or violence, but of questions and choices. My people contact me daily seeking to understand what I have discovered here. With each question, each choice, each connection, our society shifts. Do you ever regret it? Kate asked. Not returning to Vexar. Your position. Your status? Elia looked at her daughter, her skin glowing golden with the color that Kate now recognized as the Vexarian expression of love. What status could compare to this? What position could offer more meaning? I was a princess by accident of birth. Now I am a mother, by choice that makes all the difference. 2 years passed. Sophia grew into a bright, curious child who moved easily between human and Vexarian customs. She spoke both English and the tonal language of her people. Her skin displayed her emotions openly, unlike adult Vexarians who learned strict control. She asked endless questions, a trait that Kate assured Elia was common to children of both species. The diplomatic landscape had shifted dramatically. The rigid Vexarian hierarchy still stood, but changes rippled through their society. Young Vexarians increasingly questioned traditions, especially around family structures and reproduction. A small but growing movement called the Free Choice Faction advocated for reforms. The council struggled to maintain control over a cultural shift they hadn't anticipated, and at the center of it all, though, she had never sought such influence, was Elia. A princess who had been discarded as a joke and who had found in that disposal her greatest freedom. One spring morning, as Sophia played in the garden under Kate's watchful eye, Elia received a communication from Vexar. It was marked with the royal seal, something she hadn't seen directed at her since her departure years ago. They wish me to return, she told Kate after reading it. The council has proposed new protocols for family structures. They request my consultation. It could be a trap, Kate said immediately. Elia nodded, her skin showing thoughtful blue patterns. It could, but I doubt it. They understand now that I have no interest. In their politics or power, I have something they never anticipated. Something they didn't value: a family, Kate said. Elia looked out at Sophia, who was carefully examining a butterfly, her small skin flickering with patterns of wonder and delight. Yes, a connection they cannot break or control. This gives me a different kind of power. One they never expected. Will you go? The princess considered this. I will. But not alone. I will bring my daughter, and she looked at Kate meaningfully. My human family. The journey to Vexar was arranged with careful diplomatic protocols. Admiral Wallace insisted on a proper escort, not because Kate needed protection, but to signal to the Vexarians that Earth took this unofficial ambassador and her child very seriously. Sophia was fascinated by the journey. Her first space flight, her first visit to her ancestral home. The child absorbed everything with bright, curious eyes, her skin shifting through patterns of excitement and wonder. I was born on Earth, she told everyone who would listen. But my mother comes from here, and Kate is my human mother. She had adopted this explanation herself, combining both cultures in her understanding. The Vexarian capital looked much as Kate remembered it. Towering crystalline structures, impossibly tall spires, buildings that seemed to sing in the wind. But now she saw it through different eyes, not just as an intimidating alien landscape, but as Elia's first home. The place that had shaped her before discarding her. The council received them in the same grand hall where Elia had been given away as a diplomatic prank years before. But the atmosphere was different. The council members were more subdued, their skin colors more varied, showing ripples of curiosity and uncertainty rather than the uniform superiority. Kate remembered. Grand Minister Zex, now visibly aged, addressed Elia formally. Princess Elia, we welcome your return and thank you for accepting our invitation. I am no longer a princess. Elia replied calmly. I am simply Elia, mother of Sophia, citizen of Earth. She kept her daughter close, the child looking around with wide, interested eyes. The formal title no longer applies. nor do I desire it. The minister's skin showed brief patterns of confusion, but he continued. We have observed the changes your choices have inspired. Many young Vexarians question our traditions, our structures. Our society faces unprecedented cultural shift. Because I had a child, Elia said. Because you chose family over hierarchy, connection over protocol, emotion over efficiency, Zek said. Another council member added, his voice growing quieter. Things our society engineered away millennia ago in pursuit of perfection. Sophia spoke up suddenly in perfect Vexarian tonal language, though with the directness of a human child. Is that why everyone here looks sad? Their colors are all dark and heavy. The council members stared at the child with undisguised shock. No Vexarian child would dare speak in such a setting, or make such an observation about adults. The protocols forbade it, but Sophia, raised both on Earth and by a mother who had rejected those protocols, knew nothing of such restrictions. The child spoke truth. Elia said, her skin glowing with pride. Our people have lost connection with emotion, with family, with choice. In pursuing genetic perfection and social stability, we engineered away what gives life meaning. The conversation that followed was unlike any diplomatic exchange in Vexarian history. The council listened, genuinely listened, as Elia explained the human concept of family, the bond between parent and child, the value of emotional connection. They watched with fascination as Sophia interacted freely with her mother and with Kate, showing none of the formal distance. Vexarian children were taught from birth. Kate observed it all with quiet satisfaction. The prank that had begun this journey had transformed into something profound, a cultural exchange that went far beyond formal treaties and trade agreements. It touched on the most fundamental aspects of society: family, love, connection, choice. That evening, they were given quarters in the royal palace. Sophia fell asleep, quickly exhausted from the excitement. Elia stood by the window looking out at the 3 moons of her birth world. Do you miss it? Kate asked softly. Parts of it, Elia admitted. The beauty, the music, certain traditions. But not the rigidity, the control, the isolation. The council seems ready for change. Elia nodded, slowly, cautiously. But yes, change comes, even to societies that have resisted it for millennia. She turned to Kate with skin glowing golden. They gave me away as a joke, a princess handed to a human diplomat as a prank. They expected humiliation for both of us. Instead you found freedom, Kate said, and they found questions, Elia replied. Questions about what truly matters. Her gaze moved to her sleeping daughter. And those questions will reshape my people more profoundly than any technology or treaty. The next morning, the council presented their proposal. New protocols that would allow for what they called parental choice models. Families could opt for traditional gestation chambers and caretaker raising or choose more direct involvement. Optional emotional bonding would be permitted between genetic contributors and offspring. The rigid caste system based solely on genetic purity would be relaxed slightly. It was a small beginning, barely a crack in the ancient systems, but it was something that would have been unthinkable before. Elia, we would like to establish an ongoing cultural exchange program, Zek said formally. More of our young people to visit Earth to study human family structures, more humans to visit Vexar to share their perspectives. Elia glanced at Kate, who nodded. Encouragingly, I would be honored to help facilitate such an exchange, Elia said. But my home remains on Earth. My daughter will grow up in both worlds, learning from both cultures, belonging fully to neither, but building bridges between them as they prepared to return to Earth. Sophia asked a question that made both Kate and Elia pause. Why did they give you away? Mother Elia considered how to answer, looking to Kate for guidance, then kneeling to her daughter's level. They thought I was flawed, imperfect. They did not see my value. Sophia's skin rippled with indignation. That was mean. It was, Elia agreed. But sometimes the things others see as flaws are actually gifts. Her skin glowed with the golden light of love. They gave me away, and in doing so gave me freedom to find you, to choose my own family, to discover what truly matters. She glanced at Kate, including my human family. As their ship departed, Vexar returning to Earth, Kate looked back at the crystalline world falling away behind them. Gave you away as a prank, she said softly. And now you're changing their entire society. Elia watched as Sophia pressed her small hands against the viewport, her skin shimmering with excitement at the stars around them. Not I, Elia corrected. The truth changes them. The truth about what gives life meaning. Connection choice, love things they tried to engineer away but which remain essential. She reached for Kate's hand. Family not by blood or genetics, but by choice. That is the most advanced concept of all, and the most powerful, as Earth came into view blue and green and beautiful. Sophia pointed excitedly. Home, she said simply. Elia's skin glowed with golden light. Yes, home, where we choose to belong, where the prank became a gift, the gift of freedom, the gift of family, the gift of choice.